Good morning. My name is Bob Purdon, and again, I've talked to a number of us a number of times. And again, I'm a long-term trainer, consultant, been all over the continent and Panama and different places that you would suspect would have a different approach to the business. But I found, to my surprise really, that the business never changed. No matter where you were, regardless of the accent, the basic business was absolutely the same. And what really troubled me, actually, personally, was the fact that we were talking about processes, obviously, how to go from A to B, but the dominant word being used was sales. And I could never identify what that meant because I look in the dictionary and it says get money for a product or give somebody a good deal and they call it a sale. But it never had a definition, a real definition of the function of handling customers. And it was proven to me over the years by my interviewing over 700 people that have been into dealerships, not to beat them up, just to go in and look for an automobile. And what happened with those experiences was they came back again almost the same in the sense that 90% of the customers were unable to buy a vehicle because they were not put in a position to say yes or no. So to me, that left a door unopened that if it ever opened up, we would have a tremendous profession going here. Now, in the training classes that I held, I was an in-house trainer. The graduation moment of the class was having the candidates go into their casual clothes, what have you, go out and look and shop. Every time they did that, we won because they saw people not doing the fundamental things that we taught and the reason we taught them. So they came back pumped up. They knew at that moment that they had a tremendous advantage. So I really didn't feel good about doing that with the salespeople. Not that they, in that sense, they did what they were taught to do or not taught. So how were they brought into the business? They were brought in as salespeople. Well, if you can't define sales, what does salespeople mean? So I am going to go over a career path, I'll call it, for a product specialist. I call them product specialists. I don't call them salespeople because of the vagueness of the profession. So if you were coming for an interview and I was going to explain to you what we do here, this is what I do. I tell you that all people come to the dealership to see what we have. They all do. And we want to give them a full presentation for those that would allow it. Not everybody will, but most would, 80% at least. We want to take them through a presentation that will allow them to say yes or no. That's what we like to do. The reason I stated that was the fact that we know what the others don't do. So let's put you on a winning path as you enter the profession. So first of all was the importance of a mindset that said to ourselves, they don't have to prove we're a buyer. They're a buyer. Because regardless of their buying intention, this is what they're entitled. And we had what we call a Bill of Rights that outlined these steps I'm going to go over in front of the customer. So they knew exactly what we were going to offer to them. And they were very receptive. So the first step in the process was the greeting. The greeting. hand card, right name. Why? It's important, which separates yourselves, by the way, from the competition, because they don't do this as a rule. So their name is the most important possession. And by doing that and taking the time to write their name down after handing our business card, it really sets them up as being very important to us. Next, they're going to make negative statements often to protect themselves from, they're in a strange place. So they want to make sure they keep us a distance away by saying, we're just looking, just shopping, don't have a lot of time, and all those types of statements. We felt that they were a disguise most of the time. And we were able to prove whether it was a disguise or not by saying to the customer when they said those things to us, I understand, folks, it all begins somewhere, doesn't it? So we simply were prepared to have the customer give us a non-buy excuse or statement and say to them, I understand, which means I didn't agree or disagree, but I heard you, and then move it to the side, deflect it. Because what do I want to do immediately after greeting them? Next, I want to ask them the type of product they're looking for. What type of product are you looking for? I want them to know that I am listening very carefully to their wants and needs. So it begins with a profile of a vehicle, doesn't it? In that case. And if they were unsure what they were looking for as they came into our place, then I would say, follow me, and I would sit the customers down and counsel with them so that we could, again, share enough information, not financial, I'll talk about that in a moment, but share enough information so that we could start to profile the right vehicle for them to show them. After we got the profile of the model, we would then move into features desired. What features did they desire? Features does not mean equipment. Features means room, comfort, performance, what have you. It gives a broader picture of what they're looking for. So we would lock that into ourselves so that we could make sure that as we move towards the product, we'll also know basically what they're trying to get out of it at this particular point. So features desired would be the next factor, the next step, if you will. But no pre-qualifying. We don't care yet where they live. We don't care what they drive yet. We don't care what they owe. We don't care what they want to pay. All we care about is what type of vehicle you're looking for, what features do you want, and let's go show it to you. Stay away from that, because I call that mental garbage, as you've heard me say before. So we go to the vehicle. We do a presentation next. And the presentation is what? The presentation is a feature benefit presentation that does what? It separates the car from just being a good looking item to an item that really has a lot of protective benefits and features to it that they can't see, because all they're looking is the outer skin. So we try to have the vehicle become something more than a couch, so to speak. And so we make an in-depth presentation, and we try to stay on the outside of the vehicle. We go counterclockwise from the left front corner around to the back. The reason we keep them on the outside is because we want to talk about the features, the safety features that are pointed out under the hood, along the sides of the vehicle, in the back. We'll show you why we do that first. So features desired, and then we show the features that could make a big difference to them, but no financial pre-qualification, as we'll explain why. Once the presentation is complete, and remember I kept on the outside of the vehicle formally, if they want to look at the inside they could, but I wasn't presenting the inside, I'd excuse myself and pull up a vehicle, a demonstration, and I'd be in the vehicle, leaving it running, and open the passenger doors and invite them over to the vehicle and invite them in. Why? Because I say to them, I couldn't show you all the benefits of the features because I can't start it inside or where it was sitting. That's why I pulled it up. So I want them to sit in the passenger side of the vehicle, one in front, one in back, and I'm going to make a basic presentation to get them to relax a little bit for a few minutes. And then I'm going to start to move the vehicle and give a demo ride. The reason that I did not stress, would you like to take a demo, all of those demo invites, is the fact that when I say that to some people, they'll say no thanks, because they don't know how to drive it. They don't know what's going to happen out there. They don't want to have an accident, and what's going to happen there. They don't know. So they're going to come up with excuses like, no, that's all right. We've ridden in them before. And it's only a cover for themselves because they're nervous. So a demo ride is not a positive potential experience to them because they're not prepared for it, they think. And yet we are covered by that. So I bring them over to the vehicle, have them sit inside so I can show them the features. I really avoid using the word demo. Once I see they're settling down a little bit, then I'll move the vehicle to get it, quote, out of the way, and we'll begin our demo ride. That's a planned route. So I want to know where I'm going, where I'm going to stop, park, what have you, or down the freeway if you're going to use it as a bit more miles on the car. So I have a variable demo route that will help me do what? Get them exposed. Now, while we're demoing, I do not do a lot of talking. Let the vehicle do the work. I'll talk when we stop and we're going to change positions. So I'm going to stop the vehicle, make a presentation of the features in front of us on the dashboard, but I'm going to make that presentation where? From the back seat. So I asked them to move to the front. I went to the back and began that interior presentation and had them touch those buttons, getting them used to it. So now we're in a position that they can start to drive the vehicle, and as they drive the vehicle, I really do not over talk. Because why? A demonstration is designed to make a presentation, but then observe their reactions to it, which is driving the car. So the demo unfolds. So we should have a pretty good feel now of the type of vehicle they're looking for, and we might talk about things like color and equipment and all that. But that's what's going on the demo ride. Now comes the big moment. We come back from the demo ride. What am I looking for next? This word right here, selection. The demo was designed to show and have them experience it, so we now have a very good feel. Now the selection. We want it documented. We want other than price, because we don't want to get into price yet. We will tell them so. There is no charge for a selection. And regardless of their buying intention, they do not have to be a buyer. Let's just pick one. You took the time to get it here. So I'm looking for them to walk with me, look at the different vehicles, get involved with one, and then I'll document it. Now that I document it, I now come inside. We have agreed that we look at it, we like it, it has the features we want, all the other things we would like. Now we're going to do what? Invite them to sit down. When they sit down, they start to get a little more tense, because they were tense coming in. They started to relax during my presentation, but now they're getting a little more tense because now it's game face time. Now it's their money. So I want to make sure that I don't draw any numbers out of these people beforehand, because if the numbers are drawn out with these people, then what happens? I'm loading the gun against us, because they're not going to come up with a figure that they would pay. They're coming out to protect themselves, as I would, with a low figure. So they're giving me ammunition in a gun that is not even going to support me. So I leave the price alone. I don't ask them, what do you want to spend? What do you want for a payment? What do you want to put down? I don't get into that information, because it's going to come out anyway. It's so important to understand that asking a person who I don't know that well personal information, a lot of them do not like it, because they have no reason yet to ask for that information. When we get into the presenting of the figures, then their reaction will draw us into the subjects of this, that, and everything else. But let it come out that way, not pre-presenting the figures. If you go into a steakhouse, they don't turn and say, what do you want to spend? You wouldn't like that too much. And people don't, by the way. So now we present the figures. Now we're going to get into the whole situation. I might even ask for a credit statement or a a customer statement. A customer statement meaning a credit statement. Why? Because I have a license to do that. We're going to present figures, and I'd like to present the figure that the bank would want to have them have as far as the interest. So I have a reason to do that, and the reason for this customer statement is the bank won't formally react to us until they have the statement signed that shows the customer's here. So once the figure is presented to the customer, then I'm going to let them react to the number, drawing out all of these gray areas, down payment, payments, all of these things, and what they would like to do. Now that I have their offer and their opinion written, I'll now turn this over to the manager as I walk towards them to present the situation to them and let them decide which way we go. Is there a turnover TO? Do I go with that? Whatever they feel we can do to help these people move forward, we will. They don't have to be a buyer. It's most important. They're going through the process. So once they get the figures, I'm going to ask them how they arrived at those figures, because that's the rationale I'm going to use to turn them if I can. So it's not the figures they give me as a presenter, it's how they arrived at them that I'm going to accept. And the only thing I want to caution myself on is when they say, you're too high. I want to say, excuse me, folks, if you don't mind, I hope you're not looking at me when you say I'm too high. I didn't build it, I didn't price it. If it sold for half that amount, I'd be happy. So I want them to know that I'm not the bad guy here, I'm the messenger. I'm not the creator. Then we start to stabilize. The thing starts to come together if it's going to. This is where I might have a manager come in and TO the deal to either close the gap and get ready for the sale, or do what? Release the customer knowing that we'll continue to work for them. I just outlined 10 steps. Greeting, qualify a type of product, features desired, presentation of the vehicle, demonstration of the vehicle, selection documented, research the price, present the figures, and write the offer, and then determine with manager what to do next. 10 steps. That is a formal outline of a career path. If this person sitting in front of me takes that and buys into that and lets me assist him doing that, getting that done as he gets his feet on the ground, or she, they're going to be well ahead in this business. Why? Because 90% aren't going to do that. So none of those steps. What's intangible about greeting? What's intangible about product looking for? What's intangible about presenting the features? What's intangible about demonstration? What's intangible about writing a selection down? It's all tangible. Researching price, it's tangible. So sales is presented almost as an invisible occupation. It is not. It's a visible occupation that has specific steps. It's like bricklaying. Now, one more item we might look at and transition a little bit, as this is a big pot of water. We're taking this pot of water and we're going to put it on the stove. But as we put it on the stove, we notice the sound here. It's leaking. So if we notice that the pot is leaking, do I want to add more water? And yet, if a, quote, product specialist is having difficulty with a customer or omits something, that could be the leak. And until we get that leak corrected, we can't do anything. But we can identify the leak if we go over the 10 steps. If I don't have the 10 steps, what are we going to do? So the point I'm trying to make with that pot of water that is a poor example maybe, is the fact you can't correct something if you don't know what it is. And if you don't have a defined process, you can't identify where it is. And this is why it is so important. So failure is not necessarily the salesperson's fault. Failure in some area is because they don't know how to do it or what happened. So they need the knowledge to know how to go from point A to point B. But if they can't get there, well, then the interview will end, as we all know. So this is why I stress the fact that process is so important. I can find out it's not used in most cases. We bring a person on as a salesperson. Most of them don't work, in my opinion, with a salary. If they don't have a salary, they're not responsible for this. They're responsible for what? Selling a car. So without a salary, they could do anything they wanted. And why can they do that? Because I never had a process necessarily to show them. So they need a defined process that is simple. What is there that they can't do? They can do everything here. So I need the process, and then I need a salary to remind them that's what they're getting paid for. The reward is called a commission. But the job is a process and a salary paid for that. That's why we talk about a salary for these people. Everything is geared towards what? Selection. That's why we're here, to help the customer select the vehicle. That's more important than anything else at the moment. Which one do they like? Then we can put all the other pieces together, whether it be finance, payments, whatever. But until we have a selection, we have no leverage. And that's why we stress so much that we ought to take the word sale out of our goals, if you will, and change it to selection. Because selection is where the interview breaks. An interview is in two parts, in my opinion. Pre-selection. No real bonding yet with the customer. We're gathering information. The one thing we don't want to do during that pre-selection time is confront a customer. Oh, you're looking? Where have you been looking? What do I want to say that for? He's here. You don't want to do business? Why not? You can't take time to look at a vehicle? You're not a buyer? Why am I doing that? It's doing nothing except polarizing that customer. So before selection, I've got to be careful with these people and let them know that, hey, as far as you're concerned, folks, whatever it takes, I understand. I don't blame you. Which one do you like? I'm always going back to the selection. So I am convinced that if the business could be restructured so that the product specialists come in knowing first why they're here, what their basic primary function is to help a customer select a vehicle, know that they're getting reimbursed for that, and knowing that we're going to do everything we can to help them. So now their career is outlined at least. Do they have a lot of experience yet? No. But they will. The variables will pop up. We know that. Because it's a process. It's not a system. A system has no flex. A process has all kinds of flex. It may be raining out, so they may want to wait a while before they go outside. Who knows? It may be dark out. They don't want to do anything at night. All those things could happen. So that's the flexibility factor to this. But the important thing is they know it. They know where I'm coming from. I want the selection first. Then we'll talk about all the other variables next. And with that kind of a focus, embedded in the whole group, all the managers are with it and they are supporting it, we're in for a huge gain. What happens regardless of their buying intention that we do this? Can anybody not see the energy that is generated in the dealership? Sure, now we are praising more cars, buying as you will. We're giving more figures. We're demoing more. All of that stuff is on the upgrade. And it isn't what we don't sell from that, it's what we do sell. But who's going to be our best friends? I promise, if they go anywhere else, and a lot of them don't, but if they go anywhere else, there's one thing. The competition will be our best friend because they will remind them of how good we are by what they didn't do that we did. Big difference. It's a win. Keep it simple, keep it tangible, and keep it structured. It's the way it will change. Promise. Thank you.